beat.
Okay, that looks better. Oh, and we missed it. So you get to see the ship sinking right there. Well, you get a nice view of it underwater. So this is actually a good point for us to talk about underwater. So you notice when we went underwater, our skill bar changed. The thing that we want to do with our underwater combat is we want to make it a different experience. We don't want to make it, although in a lot of games, underwater combat is kind of the same combat that you do above water, except for it's a little bit worse experience because you have things like an air bar, or you have things like you move really slow underwater. And so what we wanted to do was make an experience that really took advantage of the fact that we're playing with 3 dimensions here. So for example, you saw Sarah just used an ability that dragged the guy down on the z-axis and then used another ability that hit in a column. So it hit him as he went down. The weapons are different. So Sarah's using a trident right now. She also has a spear, which is more a melee weapon. We wanted to have weapons that made sense to be used underwater. We didn't want you firing bows and doing things like that underwater. The second thing you'll notice is she doesn't have any kind of a breath meter. So we give everybody an automatic breathing apparatus. It's a slot in your equipment panel, and if you don't have anything equipped there, there's a really basic one that goes on there. But it's like any other piece of equipment. You can collect a really cool looking one, and it can have cool stats on it and all that sort of thing. You'll also notice she moves pretty fast. She can dodge just like she could above water. Dodge a little bit by swimming to the side really, really quickly. There you go. And so we wanted underwater combat to be just a different experience, but not a worse experience. So you'll find, all of our content types underwater. You'll see dynamic events that take place underwater. You'll go underwater a little bit in your personal story. We've got dungeons that have significant underwater components. We want underwater combat to be a significant part of the game. Sure. Yeah. Okay. So we're going to go to one of our boss encounters here in a couple minutes, or right now actually, using one of our waypoints. So this is an encounter that we throw up an invitation for demo players, so we should actually get, once it starts, quite a few players in here. So a little bit of background here is this area is home to a group of frog people called the Hylek, and you'll see some of them walking around over there. And they're under siege basically by the undead dragon Zhaitan and his minions. And they're not equipped to deal with Zhaitan. And so we've got the player or joinable organization that's known as the Vigil here helping them, as well as some Sylvari. And this particular area is kind of the front lines of the fight against Zhaitan's minions. So see a few players jumping around in here.
Something in the water.
Look, in the water. Brothers, sisters.
Look over to the right.
Tequatl is here. Now.
There you go. Okay, so like our other events, this is a big boss battle in the open world. It's an event, so it's an elite event, which means it's designed for a minimum of 10 players, but it scales all the way up through 100 players. So we get 100 players here, all cooperating and having kind of a shared experience. So similar to the Shatterer event that we showed last year, this event has a lot of layers to it. It has actually a bit more. It's a little bit more complex than the Shatterer event. And we've got a lot of elements that are designed to allow players to work together and feel like they're cooperating and having a cooperative experience, and also give them a lot of options as to what they want to do during the fight. So we've got these siege weapons back here. And Sarah could go ahead and take one of those over. You can see there's players on those right now. And use those to attack Tequatl. And you can see those walls that, like there's one over to the right of Tequatl that he's brought up. And he'll use those walls to defend himself from the siege weapons. And so players need to work together to bring down the walls, otherwise the siege weapons can't hit him. And the siege weapons are a really good source of damage against him. Another element is, if you look closely, you'll see, we go up towards him, you'll see these giant undead guys who keep walking away from him. He spawns them up. And if they get near the players, they'll explode and do a bunch of damage to the players. And so players kind of have to work together to keep them from getting too far up the beach. Otherwise, they'll come up and explode and kill the guys who are operating the siege weapons. He's about to spawn some of them now, I think. There you go. So in addition to that, there's a giant Asura mega laser that's been set up back there, which is actually getting ready to fire. Right there, you can see it. And players need to defend that from the undead hordes. Otherwise, they lose a really powerful weapon in the fight against Tequatl. So the laser will fire occasionally, and when it fires, it will stun Tequatl, and then players will gain access to a new attack point on him. They can then attack his head, which will do twice the amount of damage that it normally does. I think he's actually stunned, and we missed the laser firing there. Yeah. So you notice his health bar over there is going down a lot faster than it was before. That's because they preserved the laser, and now they're able to attack his head. So you can see also she's using guardian abilities that keep enemies at bay and allow allies to get a little bit of a respite from the fight. Do we want to, we should probably go to PvP. Okay. So we're going to miss the end of this one because we need to keep moving. So we're going to talk a little bit about PvP here in a second.